my name is Tawny Kennebrew. I am the owner of Wyldwood Creative. I opened this store about 3 months ago, but it's been about a year and a half in the making. I left my full-time job as a sales trainer at a luxury car dealer and took a really big leap of faith and a big chunk of my savings and decided to open this place. I've always wanted to open my own business, and it just took a long time for me to kind of find the right business model and the right fit. And a big part of that came from, I'm like a really crafty person. I've always been into making things, and I've always been really good at kind of just looking at something and figuring out how to make it. And my friends would always say like, oh my God, you're so crafty. That's so cool. I could never make anything like that. And in my head, I'm like, no, anyone could do this. Like, you just need someone to show you how. And so that was really the inspiration for this place. Was I really wanted to create a type of community space where people could come in, learn a new craft, make a new friend, be in a very open, welcoming, judgment-free environment, and just enjoy making, because I think it's therapy, basically. I think it's good for your soul to just make something with your hands and have fun and not worry about what the end result is, but just have fun. Yeah, so I am born and raised in Utah. I grew up about an hour north of Salt Lake City, so very rural. I lived in a town called Far West. I went to high school in Plain City, so I kind of had a very suburbia upbringing. I went to college in Salt Lake City. I do love Utah. I think it's very beautiful. The city sits right in the foothills of the mountains, and so it's very scenic. But I knew pretty early on that I wanted to leave Utah. I just felt like I don't know. There was a lot of things. The air quality there is actually really, really poor, and I would be sick a lot. Every winter I would get like a nasty cough cold that wouldn't go away, and I also felt like there wasn't a lot of diversity there. Everyone is very similar. And then also I got married in 2013. My husband grew up in Park City. We met working there at a ski resort, and he is a chef. And for him, he really loves fine dining, a more upscale environment for cooking, and Salt Lake didn't just have a ton of that to offer. So it really just made sense for both of us to move to a bigger city. And we had been up here a few times traveling together. His sister went to school at University of Puget Sound in Tacoma, so we'd been up here to visit her. I have a really good friend that lives in Bellingham. And we just really love the Pacific Northwest. I love the trees everywhere. I love being close to the water. I love the mild climate. Utah is super, super cold in the winter and super hot in the summer, and I just get cranky when it's hot. And I get mad when I have to wipe snow off my car. So it was kind of a lot of reasons that brought us out here, but I think for both of us being newly married, we were really ready for kind of a new start in a new place, and the Pacific Northwest kind of just called, and I flew up a week before we moved here, or I didn't fly actually, I drove my car up here. I found us an apartment. I flew back home. We loaded up a moving truck, drove it here. Did not have jobs. We both had job interviews within 48 hours of pulling into our apartment, so that was kind of nuts. Luckily, we both got hired. I started at Nordstrom. He started working at a restaurant downtown, and yeah, it just kind of grew from there. I worked at Nordstrom for a little while, thinking I would climb the corporate ladder there, and then decided that wasn't really for me. Landed at a car dealership very randomly off of a Craigslist ad. Actually did really well there and really enjoyed my job, but I'm a very creative person, and so it didn't really feed my creativity, and the car business is a very results-driven type industry, and it's a lot of pressure, and so it's easy to get burned out in that industry, which I definitely was approaching very quickly. And so I think I left at a good time to where I gained a lot of valuable experience in working with customers and managing people, and felt like I was really ready to kind of finally do my own thing. Yeah, so for me, I discovered quilting about 6 years ago. Shortly before we moved here, actually, I started quilting, and I fell in love with it. I had dabbled in so many other things. I thought I wanted to go into fashion design, and then it was graphic design, and all these other things. And then I started quilting and I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. I love this. I can sit at my sewing machine for 5 hours and time goes by like it's nothing. Like I can get lost in this. And that's something I've heard a lot from people. If, you're wondering what you should do with your life, what is that thing that you can just do for hours and hours and feel like no time has passed? Like that's your passion, and figure out how to make that a career. And for me, it was really a struggle because I said, okay, I love quilting. All right, let's figure this out. If I can sell a quilt for X amount of money and I need to make this many dollars a month, then I need to sell this many quilts. Well, a quilt takes me this many hours, and I quickly realized, okay, I'm going to be sewing 40 hours a week. I don't know if that's going to be fun anymore. And that's when it kind of got put on the back burner, and I was working these other jobs to support us and everything. So it was a while before I kind of came to the realization that I don't have to make things to have a career being a creative. There's another way to go about this. And I think when I got the training job, I found that I really had a knack for teaching people, and it really did bring me joy. I really loved teaching something to someone and explaining something to them, and you see that light bulb go off and they understand it, and that was super rewarding for me. And that was when it kind of clicked of like, hey, why don't I teach people how to quilt or how to sew? And then that idea just kind of grew rapidly of, oh, I'm going to bring in all these other local artists to teach, and I'm going to feature their work in my shop, and I'm going to give, awareness and space to these other local artists, and I'm going to be a part of this community. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. As soon as I kind of made that connection between teaching and the creative side, it blew up, and I had all these ideas and I just ran with it. And I'm a very, very organized person. I love a good to-do list. So I literally, when I got started with this, I made an Excel spreadsheet that I think had like 250 items on it of things I needed to do to open this space. And I just started tackling them one by one. So if you're thinking, you want to find a career, number one, figure out what your passion really is. What is that thing you can get lost in? And then think about what other ways can you incorporate that passion into a career. It doesn't necessarily have to be a one road of making something or something specific. There's so many avenues and ways that you can touch your creative side and, make money doing it at the same time. And, the other side of it is, have faith in yourself. If you're passionate, just believe in yourself and go for it, because no one's stopping you. Anyone can do this. Honestly, all it takes is determination and will. That's it. I'm not a genius. I don't have any special skills. I'm a normal person, and I just really, really, really wanted to do this. And so I made it happen. Yeah, I think, so much, you're right, so much happens online, and social media plays such a huge role in our lives now. But I think at the end of the day, we're all still human, and we all still crave connection. We all still want to be a part of something and want to connect with people. And you can do that online to a certain extent. That does happen, but there's something kind of magical that happens when you get a bunch of people in a space together and they start creating, and ideas start pouring, and you bounce off of each other, and the creativity flows, and it just, that, you have to be in person for that to happen. I really feel that way. And so for me, the brick and mortar space was really important because I'm highly extroverted, and so I crave human interaction. I am the type of person, I joke with people all the time, I'm like, if I decide I'm going to be your friend, you don't really have a choice in the matter. Like, we're going to be friends. And so I really wanted to, part of it was selfish. I wanted to make a space where I could just hang out with my friends and make stuff. And so that's kind of what I did. And, the social media side still plays a role. That's, for me, been my number one form of advertising, has been Instagram. And it's been awesome because it's free and it's drawn in a lot of business. I have people come in all the time that are like, oh, I've been following you on Instagram. I finally got to come into your space. It's so nice to meet you in real life. And so I think that the two can play nicely together, but I do think that human interaction, that human connection is something that we all need. So we offer a very modern selection of fabric. I am not trying to be like every quilt shop and have floor-to-ceiling, wall-to-wall, every single option. I'm really trying to curate a very modern and fun selection of fabric. Sewing notions, and then a lot of our items for sale are made locally. I do my absolute best to support local artists as much as I can, because I just feel like it's so important to take my money and feed it back into my local economy, because it's all going to come back to me. And so I try to support local as much as I can. So a lot of our little craft kits and candles and cards, all of those are made locally. And then our classes are really kind of the bulk of the business here. I teach all the sewing classes, and then I'm connecting with a lot of local artists. So we do things like macrame, hand lettering, punch needle. We do a pizza and puzzles night where we just eat pizza and put together jigsaw puzzles. We have sew-ins where people just bring in their own projects and work on whatever. So for me, the classroom space is really, the kind of linchpin of this business for me. And that's proven to be true. The money says the same thing. That's been the biggest success for me, and that makes me really happy to see people really responding well to what I'm putting out there, and they're loving the classes and they're coming in, and it just makes me so happy.